We're on our way to visit a century farm on the north shore of Stowe Lake in rural Douglas County. Myron Severson's family have lived and owned at least 50 acres of the original homestead for over 100 years. During the 1930s and 1940s, Myron grew up in this little one-room house that his great-grandfather built on the family farm. But the first home on his grandparents' homestead was a simple dugout.
When they came here in 1885, it wasn't this house. They had a dugout. But I never saw the dugout because I wasn't born yet.
It probably caved in by the time you were...
And I think that there was a kind of a spot on the hill there that was the dugout, you know, way back when I was a little kid growing up.
Sure.
And it never got really filled in and leveled up anymore. It was just abandoned.
Yeah.
Well, then they, I think, built kind of the first little so-called home that was built out of lumber. I don't believe it was log. I think it was sawed lumber then.
Wow.
To start with, around 1890 or somewhere in there. And then they built onto that house a real nice home when their family was growing up, my dad and his brothers and sisters. That home didn't have electricity, never did, but it did have gas lighting with a pressure tank like, and it was piped. Then it had these lamps that were gas lit.
Wow.
And many people wouldn't even know what we're talking about.
Sure.
Because I think they kind of abandoned it after a while and went to, you know, light, this type of light.
Kerosene.
And that's a really, really good lamp. It's with the mantle, which isn't on there. Mm-hmm. It lights, it would be like a 100, 200 watt bulb. It's very bright.
Yeah.
So they were good. And then we also have the lantern.
Sure.
Which is fine, but it doesn't give much light. Yeah. It was we call them kind of like a general farm, you know?
Sure.
In other words, you had chickens, hogs, cattle, which was a mixed breed usually. We used to like whiteface, Hereford,
okay.
whiteface. And way back, he had an old Titan tractor. And that was the big wheels, you know, steel. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really such a practical thing. Then it kind of phased out, and then the horses were still major. You know, we used horses. Sure. Well, then at a certain point, we got a small tractor, which I have. I still got that tractor here. You know, I could barely reach that clutch here.
It looks like it's still a little stretch.
Yeah, it is. So I'd have to get up like this when I was smaller. Sure. And barely get to, you know, get the push on the clutch so I could stop. And then, you know, once I got going, it was okay. Then I could stop. So in 1937, my grandfather had passed away. And then the grandma still lived on this farm, but they divided the land then, part of the land, and gave it to the children. Oh. My dad was one of them, with 6 children alive at that. Well, so my dad got this little 33-acre chunk of land. And then in some manner, we got this house, which my great-grandfather had built. But it was kind of starting to just be used as a storage or a granary or extra building. I don't recall how if he had to pay something for it or trade a cow or two for this property or this house. Well, then we moved the house back here.
Yeah.
And we built this other house. But all during this time, we had no electricity, no water, no well even, no, this was the heat, summer and winter.
Yeah.
And
well, that would make it pretty warm in here.
oh, it was fine.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. You just had to have enough fuel,
Yeah.
you know, a wood or a coal.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have many trees, so we were sitting out there like a little house on the prairie, no trees. Yeah, that wasn't so pleasant. But then we had to start planting trees, which we started with. And, you know, you don't have trees in a year. It
Right.
took 20 years to get a nice growth.
Yeah.
And then it was not that big either. But anyway, all of this was the way of our life.
Sure.
We had a little bench here and a little wash
Sure.
dish. This is our
Kitchen
way we,
sink.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is our thing.
You
And
had
of course,
your-
you wash dishes maybe on the stove.
Probably had your Saturday night bath in the
Oh
old
yeah, that was a tub.
galvanized tub,
Yeah,
probably.
the round one.
Sure.
Kind of tried to hang on it a little bit, and a little bit of water in there,
Uh-huh.
close to the stove.
Yeah,
So
to
it was
stay
nice.
warm.
Yeah, kind of radiated. I hardly ever turn a faucet on, even today, without saying, boy, that's wonderful.
Perhaps you or someone you know still lives on the family's century farm. And, like our friend Myron, has a story to share. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Just visit our website at lakescountry.tv.